Welcome to Airtime with Agnes Kru Yoga, the podcast for yoga teachers dedicated to straight talk about yoga and the work we so love. I'm your host, Agnes Kru. I'm a yogini, a yoga teacher, seeker, and mama living on the beautiful island Mallorca. And if you're a yoga teacher who wants to learn how to offer your students more, go deeper into yoga, and have an impact, Airtime with Agnes Kru Yoga is for you. I'm super honored for today's guest, Ava Taylor, founder of Yama Talent. She is a yogini, a creative entrepreneur, and the go-to strategist for top professional yoga teachers, brands, studios. And she works with names like Sadie Nardini, Kaminoff, Faith Hunter, brands like Alo, Manduka, and the Jivamukti studio in New York City. And YogaWorks, actually, those I took my first training with YogaWorks. She holds a degree in economics and intercultural communication, along with a distinguished resume in high-level management and growth expansion at Clear Channel and Lululemon. And this is amazing. She co-produced the annual yoga garden at the White House, as well as the world's 2 largest yoga classes. So please, let's welcome, with a lot of confetti, Ava. Yay! Thank you so much for your time, Ava. And after some technical issues, also, we made it. Yay!
Barely.
So, yeah, thank you so much. And I know you don't have so much time, so I would suggest just jump right away into our theme. So you say about yourself, you do management, you do networking, strategic advising for brands, for you studios and yoga teachers. What does that mean? Is it, in other words, marketing you do, or how would you describe what you're doing?
Well, it's a good question. We've been creating what we do since the beginning. So it's been something that we've had to define for ourselves, right? The business that I created to have an artist representation agency and a strategic advising firm didn't exist in the yoga space before I created it. So this question is a question that I get asked often because the structures that we've been working with are brand new, right, in the yoga space. And so the 2 ways that we serve the clients, if you think about some of the wonderful names that you listed, Sadie and Leslie and Faith, and, the many dozens and dozens of just incredible teachers and creators that I've been blessed to work with over the years, the way that we're supporting teachers in that capacity starts with strategy and really career planning and thinking about where that particular teacher wants to take their business, why they want to take their business there, and also looking at that in perspective with their strengths, right? Their skills, the things that they're very good at and that uniquely belong to them. And then also what's going on in the world and in the market. So we're helping to really create the plan to move forward for that teacher. And then depending on what the plan is, we'll support them in executing it, right? So depending on what they need in order to achieve their goals, whether it is to have a television property, whether it is to launch a new yoga school, whether it is to, build a following, create a podcast, right? A successful podcast, whatever those goals are that we set together, that's how the agency then supports them. So there's no cookie cutter role. There's no magic wand, to create the next level for your business. We really look at what each teacher is, where they're at, right now in this moment. And right now, coming out of the pandemic, it's like a reset for everyone, right? We're all kind of asking ourselves these questions again, right? Where do I want my business to go? Why am I taking my business there, right? And then what is it? And then we get to the how are we going to get it?
Yeah, I got that now, because I wasn't clear. But what you say, even on your website, yamatalent.com, you mentioned like artist network, and now it makes sense. You said our agency. I used to work before more in the music business, so it's more like a music management. You know that somebody takes care of the artist and makes sure this artist has everything what they need, and to help them on the way.
Yes,
So you
that's
are
exactly
basically an
right.
agency. You're an agency,
Yes.
and plus this very personal work you do. Yes.
Yes,
And
yeah, it's
guiding.
absolutely agency first. You know, Yama stands for Yoga Artist Management Agency, and of course, thank you, and of course, is a play on the yamas and niyamas, right? We wanted people to know that we are, while we're pushing the envelope of what it means of what the career of a yoga teacher can look like, we're very much rooted to the practice, right? We understand what our core mission is, and that is to spread these tools, right, to as many people as possible. So agency first, absolutely agency first. And what the network part of the website's actually referring to is the fact that I believe that we are the sort of center spoke of a wheel, right? Thinking about the shape of like a wheel. And so there's the teachers that we connect with, there's the venues that we connect with, right? The studios and the conferences and festivals. There's media such as yourself and magazines and publishers and television outlets, right, that we connect with. And so the network is actually the accumulation of all of those contacts, all of those relationships. And we feel we're very much in the middle of this incredible ecosystem. So
you've created your own ecosystem, didn't you? So why why did you choose to focus on your business on yoga and wellness?
Yes, thank you for asking that. This is the question everyone needs to ask themselves, right? As they're starting, as they're refining, right? As we're creating our new plans together, is why. The reason why I started Yama was because at that time, and this is back in 2008, that I actually had the idea. I didn't launch the company until 2010, but I had the idea. I saw that there was a problem in the market in 2008 when I was working at Lululemon back in Los Angeles. And the issue was that we were selling literally millions of dollars worth of black stretchy pants. And the teachers, and this was at this point, all of them, Pilates, personal trainers, every fitness modality you could think of, right? We were working with, but the yogis in particular were my heart, because that was where that was what had changed my life, was yoga entering my life. And so it had a special affinity for the yoga teachers. And so the industry was changing. Online yoga had just started. I mean, back then there was one online yoga company, literally one.
In 2008.
Yes. Instagram had not launched yet, right? This is like an incredible, and it's weird to feel like you even could have lived through it, when we're so here now, but this is where we were. And so the industry was starting to change. And from what I could see, the teachers were very valuable, right? If you think of it again, back to that wheel, right? What makes the wheel turn is the talent, right? The people, the teachers themselves are how a brand will sell, right? All of those millions of dollars worth of pants. But the teachers were struggling. My friends, and if I gave you the list of these names right now, you would just laugh, because these are now some of the most recognizable names in the yoga space. But we were just kids flipping around, taking classes, sleeping on each other's couches, hanging out at the beach in Santa Monica, right? It was just this accumulation of us yoga lovers, and they had no health insurance, couldn't pay their rent, and here I was, and it was my job to sell them in this relationship to work with our company, right? That was my literal job. That's how I got to know them. And then I realized, I was like, well, maybe this isn't the best decision for them, because they are valuable. And I can see that if I go build a relationship with Agnes and invite her to come and teach at the store, and then all of a sudden, all of Agnes's students are now in the store, right? That relationship, literally we are literally selling clothes off of their backs. But why aren't they making any money, right? I don't want to give my friend a tank top or a pair of leggings anymore, because I know that they can't pay their rent. So here I am ringing the cash register. I don't know why I always do this like it was an old-fashioned cash register, but here I am like ringing the cash register on the weekend and spending the whole week with them. and having these conversations. And I was like, this isn't right. And why are they not making better decisions for themselves as valuable as the value in the equation? And so because I lived in LA, I had a lot of friends who were actors. So they had agents, they had managers, they had someone helping them stand for their value, create business opportunities, and support them, right, as they were building their careers. And so that was where I went, I wonder who's helping these teachers with the professional side of being a yoga teacher. And so when I asked them that, they were like, am I a professional yoga teacher? Like, it was like, back then, no one was saying you're a brand. No one was saying your career. No one was saying yoga professional. No, people didn't even say yoga and business in the same
No,
sentence.
I just want to say business, yoga.
Right. So we've had all of these different dynamics that we've had to work through over the years. And the answer to the question that they gave me was no one. No one's helping me. Or my boyfriend, maybe, like, if they were lucky and they had like someone that they that they knew in their lives that was just kind of volunteering to help them. And so that was when I went, okay, there's something missing here. What I didn't realize at the time, excuse me, was that it wasn't just my friends that didn't have help. It was the whole yoga industry. So by the time I moved to New York in 2010, same thing was happening. I'm in the community, I'm practicing, I'm just like blown away, like LA and New York were the meccas, of yoga in the whole world. And here I am in both of these playgrounds and just like so fed and fueled and seeing the same thing happen. Like, wow, these teachers, who's helping you run your business. And so, I had started working after hours with the teachers because they really needed help. So they were calling me in the middle of the night. I don't know what to charge. Someone called and asked me my day rate. Could you help me? Could you take a look at my website? I'm not sure if I'm saying what I want to say properly. Just these needs that they had as they were trying to form and shape what now became their brands, right? And figure out what they wanted to sell and how they wanted to live. Did they want to travel? Did they want to be teacher trainers? Did they want to be social media people? Like, just figuring it all out. So I just started helping. And eventually one of the teachers said to me after a Dharma Mitra class, actually, on his old studio on the Upper East Side. And he said, I wish you could just manage me. I wish you could just do this full time. And it was like the whole lens of my life went, kind of like came into focus. And I said, yeah, I will. And that was how we started.
Nice.
So I'm sorry for the long story, but the why is to help there be more yoga in the world by supporting the teachers to have thriving businesses.
Great. Yeah, I'm definitely for more yoga in the world to spread it wide. Like, we all believe into that.
Yeah, but you've got to be able to pay your rent, right? You need to have health insurance. This was
very difficult issue still.
Yeah, it's very difficult. It's not easy
Europe,
to make a living as an artist of any kind, musician, painter, writer, yoga teacher. And I really consider yoga an art form because I believe the way you express it is your creation, right? It's your offering, the way that you are communicating in the world. So it's very hard, but it can be done. It absolutely can be done.
Thank you. It's beautiful. I never thought of being also an artist. It's nice. I love that. So in my introduction, I mentioned the annual yoga garden in the White House, and I was actually impressed that there is or was this yoga event. Could you give us a little snapshot how that looks like?
Yes. It's lovely to talk about it, actually, because it existed. It really did exist. A good friend of mine named Leah Cullis, who came up through the Baptiste organization, was living and working in Washington, D.C. at the time. And her husband was working for a company called C3, which is a big event production company. And they make like the big concerts. It's actually who Wanderlust was working with as well. but they produce big events. And so when the Obamas got elected, because Leah was there on the ground in DC, she had a little bit of an ear in, and her husband, John, was producing the White House Easter egg roll, which is an annual event that the White House puts on. It's the longest standing event that we have at the White House, the longest sort of public holiday, I guess, celebration. It's not very old compared to you Europeans, but that's all we have. And they basically invite America's families to the White House. So there are 30,000 people that come onto the lawn throughout the course of the day, moms and dads and children, and everyone's dressed in their Easter clothes. And usually they're getting chocolate and taking pictures and ooh and ah and this kind of a thing. But because Michelle Obama had an initiative called Let's Move, which was to
I heard that.
fight childhood obesity and promote family wellness, she decided she was going to change it. And so she created a basketball experience, and all the NBA players came and played basketball with the kids.
Wow, so cool.
And there was a football experience, so the NFL players would come and throw the football, and there were storytelling gardens and healthy food demonstrations. And when John told Leah what was happening, she was like, well, there has to be yoga, right? There has to be yoga. So he pitched the idea and they said yes. And so I supported Leah by helping her bring what we considered each year were the sort of, I don't like to use the word best, but we had to make decisions around which teachers we would invite to be part of the yoga garden. And it was a mix of, obviously we needed a diverse representation to be there. So that way when the kids would come to practice with us, and I've got pictures that are just like, make your heart explode. Just like,
I imagine
these beautiful kids, literally from every corner of the country, coming and look, mommy, I can do yoga, and dads in their suits and moms in their, just getting on these mats and us being there, and really showing them how to breathe, and just the most simple elements of the practice were just blowing people away. So from the impact that they had, right? And you could see, and as the years went on, I think we ran the garden 7 out of 8 of the years that Obama was in office. And so you could see through the years that the recognition of the practices changed, right? Because yoga was growing in popularity. So the first year where it was more foreign or unknown, unfamiliar, as time went on, like the kids were then coming and they were like, I already know this pose, compared to the first years when we were teaching them everything. So it's really, really awesome to see the growth of it. And, we would get up at 5 a.m., to get on the White House lawn, and it's grass, it's literally like the front yard of the White House. So when you see the pictures, there's a huge sloping lawn that goes down to the front towards the I think it's the Washington Monument or what the lake is called that's down there. So, you're like in the grass, it's cold and damp because the sun hasn't even come up yet, but you have to get there early and get through security, and all the vendors are there. And that like all around Washington, D.C., the families are getting dressed and putting on their Easter clothes. And so they start queuing. The first group comes in at 7 a.m., right when like the sun is rising. And you basically work harder than you've ever worked. I mean, if you jump up and down in the grass from literally 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. And it was just epic. It was just epic. And, given where the world, and not to be political, but it was definitely a moment. And I don't know if those moments will be back anytime soon, but we did it and we were there and it really mattered. So it was awesome.
I really, you mentioned then on socials, we had this contact and you said it was not Trump, but the Obamas.
I would love to see Trump do yoga too.
I love this. I would love to. There's hope. There's faith.
There is hope. I will never give up hope. But it was really funny because I was like, oh no, it was the other,
Yeah.
the
It
other
was more
president
like
we
a
had recently.
little joke,
Yeah.
but just the idea of also that leaders include yoga. This gives me also, right, especially now in our times, no, with the war of Russia and Ukraine, I just wish that more leaders would practice yoga.
It's true. It's true. You know, you wonder. I don't think things are always so complicated, you know, or that they have to be so complicated when we're aware, you know, when we have that ability to listen and to hear ourselves and to feel, you know, that you can get through the practice. And so I do think that the world could be very different, you know, if more people in positions of power, especially great power, you know, like a prime minister or president or a, you know, had that kind of inner dialogue and perspective. I absolutely think it would change the world.
And I absolutely believe into it. That's why you said like spreading yoga in the world. No, that's your aim, and for me as well. For those reasons as well. No, just to do something good for the world. No, and keeping the faith. So you told me that you just organized a yoga teacher conference, a TED Talk for yoga teachers, as you called it, over 5 days with 15 experts to inspire yoga teaching and business. And I'm really sorry that I missed it. It really sounds interesting. So I hope there will be another chance for me.
I will get you the replay. I'm going to make a little note because we recorded everything. So I'll get you the replay.
Cool. Thank you. Fantastic. What was your biggest takeaway from this for your work with yoga teachers?
Yes, thank you for asking. Inspire was the name of the online conference, and it was created to, and this is also my biggest learning, right? It was created to show how we are all the collective experience that we're having as teachers, right? The collective moment that we were living through as teachers. So I came up with the idea last summer. So sort of 1 year into the pandemic, and at least for us here in New York, we were 1 year. We had a very long phasing out of lockdown process. We really had a tight rules for a very long time. And so we had just come out of it, and we had a lot of studio loss here. You know, 30 to 40% of the studios. Yoga Works is closed now. Jivamukti is closed now.
Jivamukti as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. It was very dramatic. Most of the institutions that we know are gone here in the city. You know, so we sort of we're like, you know, just sort of catching our breaths. And I felt like we needed a moment to come together to talk about tough things like studio closures, like which could be considered a failure, right? Or to talk about how hard it is to keep going, right? As a business owner, let's be honest, it's not easy, you know, to make a career for yourself. And so how do we keep going, right? How do we acknowledge what we've been through, acknowledge what we're going through, and get the motivation that we need to keep showing up, because we need to keep our teachers out there so we can keep the tools in the hands of the people, right? So it goes back to that same original intent. And so I thought, what better way to do it than by taking teachers from my network at the agency who are established, who are big names, who have built these big careers, because they're feeling the same stuff that we're feeling, right? The little guys, the regular guys, the guys just starting, or maybe you're never going to be Sadie, right? It doesn't matter. We're all teachers, and it's not about a hierarchy. It's about being on the path together. And I find it so inspiring. Part of my job is I get to talk to these amazing teachers all the time, and I know them really, really well, right? We've been there since 2006. I've known all of these guys, right? So it's 15 years of just life and building and trial and error and failure and wins and losses. And, you know, I know what it takes to become a successful yoga teacher.
Mhm.
Success is different for everybody, but I know what it takes and I'm part of it. And so I keep hearing all of these like amazing stories, right, between my community of clients. And then I said, well, what if we could connect it? What if we could tell the stories publicly? What if other people other than just me could hear these awesome stories? So that was where it came from. I was like, okay, we all need a little bit of a pick me up right now. We need to come together. We haven't had a chance to gather. And I wonder if my clients would be interested in sharing some of the stories of how they persevered and how they have failed and picked themselves up and kept going. And what has the pandemic been like for them? I mean, some of what we talked about, you know, we did the TED Talks. So there were talks each day, but then at night we had a panel every night for 5 nights. And the panels were, they were live. We brought all of the teachers together who spoke on that day. We really talked like as regular people. And, you know, they're all from different walks. So we had, you know, Cindy Lee and, you know, Sadie and Faith and, you know, just different teachers, different ways of being in the world, different languages of communication. But to be able to share to talk about what we had in common, right? To find that common ground. And sometimes we didn't find common ground. And that was awesome too, right? To share the different perspectives on the experiences that we were all going through. But it was really powerful, you know, to hear from someone that you look up to, that you admire, that you aspire to, that you trained with, or that trained your teacher, you know, like, yeah, this was really hard for me, or I was really scared I wasn't going to be able to provide for my family, or I thought about giving up. You know, to have those real conversations was just so powerful. So what I learned from doing it was that we are more alike. You know, there is more in our common experience, and that by sharing and talking about it, right? Reflecting, giving yourself space, that you can use it to help you get motivated again and be able to find that just to be able to keep going, you know, just to be able to keep going. So it was really cool actually. I'm still
It
catching
sounds
my breath
amazing.
from it. Yeah, it was a lot of work. All the new ideas are way more work than you think they're going to be.
Yeah. I know that sensation of having so many ideas and then later you have to do that and it's like, oh God, another idea. So,
Why did I do this to myself? But
exactly.
it was very well received, and I think we had 1,700 teachers that registered. You know, it was just a really tremendous showing, and the panelists themselves, you know, the Cindy's and the Dharmas and Michael James Wong and all these great teachers that we had, they too really felt that they were part of something that mattered. So it was
I love, especially as you mentioned, sometimes like community, you use the word community actually to express that. And also here, like, is this idea of support, because I think that's also a big theme for yoga teachers, especially those you mentioned that are maybe new or young or alone. Like there's a lot of aloneness in this artist world, no? And so I'm very also myself into community and support and actually to share and be with each other. No? It makes such a difference. So yeah, it sounds amazing.
it's very important, you know, if you think about as you said, you know, oh, it sounds like a music management company, right? If you think about other industries like music or sports or acting, there are so many structures that are built there for career development, for mentorship, for support, right? It's part of developing as an artist to spend time with your peers, to have someone who's more established in the business, right, that you're working with, or that helps you figure out how to make your way. But for whatever reason, and so I'm so happy that you're doing what you're doing as well, because it does matter, and it is part of, you're not supposed to know how to do it on your own, right? There's no book that says I am writing a book which will help. But But there's no set formula, right, for how to do this. And even if there was, it's so common, it's so normal to develop in a group capacity, right? It's part of becoming a professional,
Mm-hmm.
right? A young teacher, a school teacher will have a mentor, doctors do their residency, right? Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has this process of working with someone, being in community in order to hone your skills, in order to learn what to better your craft, to come up with a plan. So it's interesting that we're getting there as the industry becomes more professional, right? As
Mm-hmm.
the industry becomes more of a business and people are like, you know what? I do want to be a financially successful yoga teacher, and I am okay with that. I want to buy a house. I want to
Mm-hmm.
go on vacation, right? I want to do the things that I would be able to do if I worked at the bank, right?
You have to. You need a car to drive to your classes. You just you need certain things, no? Also, and yeah, of course.
Yeah, you can't pay your rent with a tank top, Or Sadie said once, we have a New York Times piece, and she's quoted in it. She says, "My landlord doesn't take karma," and that was how that was how
That's
we
good.
back then.
So one thing I picked up from your TED talk for yoga teachers was innovate and go your own way. And I really love that, as it talks also a lot to me. What do you mean by that with this statement?
Yes, innovation and going your own way, which we call brand your weird sometimes, as a funny way to say it. But what it's really talking about is authenticity as a teacher.
Mhm,
It's talking about authenticity as a teacher. So, what I believe is that the best branding is to be more you,
mhm,
right? The best branding is to be more you. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, but surprisingly, we do not create brands. We don't take a teacher and say, "Oh, Agnes is really good. Why don't we give her this costume and have her put this thing on and become this
mhm,
personality the way that a music company will," right?
mhm. Yeah.
A music company will create a persona, right? They will make you into a character almost because that's what they think will sell.
In pop music, yes.
In pop music, yes, in pop music. We work the opposite way, right?
Mhm,
Our job is to help you excavate more of who you are inside. And that is what becomes your brand. And
mhm,
that is what creates your innovation, right? It's
mhm,
not external. It's not going, well, what can I add to my business to make me special, right? It's not saying, well, what is my niche going to be, right? It's internal work to create what your innovation is going to be. So that's the first thing to understand when I talk about innovating and going your own way. It's not an external creation, it's an internal clarification
But
of.
it goes along with the idea of niche, doesn't it? Like,
It does, but it's the way that you get there that matters,
mhm,
right?
mhm,
It really does matter, because when a teacher understands that their uniqueness is already there, it's a very different process to helping it come to life,
mhm,
right? And so the innovate and go your own way is part of your path as you develop. So I don't really think it's possible to innovate the day you leave a teacher training, because you've
mhm,
just started on your path. Becoming, there's a great quote that I love from Miles Davis, a great jazz
mhm.
musician. He says, "It takes a long time to learn to play like yourself," right? It
Mhm.
takes a long time to learn to play like yourself.
That's beautiful.
So you've got to teach. You have to be in the world. You have to be in the room. You have to be in your personal practice in order to. You've got to follow your teachers, right? That
Mhm,
have led you, right? You can't just, you've got to learn to recreate what's already great and find out how to take it in, literally, like take it in, integrate it to become your authentic self as a teacher. And that's when you get to the point of of innovation. So it's very much a process, and it's very much something that comes from within. If I put a pin in that, yes, there are lots of ways to create creative businesses, right? But the way that we meant it at the conference and what we spoke of at the summit, Inspire, was the best branding is to be more you. That's where we were coming from. Once that part is done, there are, especially now with the internet, there are a million ways you can literally innovate your business structure, right? You can create so many different kinds of careers now teaching yoga, right? It used to be a very much more narrow way you would build your business, or the services that you could offer were a lot less options. But now with the internet, it can be a podcast, it can be virtual, only teaching online. Maybe you just want to be a content creator. Maybe you really want to be the person who retreats and travels around the world. There's so many different ways now to innovate the business structure. But the way that we usually talk about it first is understanding how to bring it from within.
Yeah, it really talks to me, because the yoga teachers can relate to that, because that's what we preach in our classes. It's like we always say that to our students: respect your body, take care of your limits, and don't copy your neighbor. But then when it comes to business, suddenly I see that teachers try to be someone else, And so I think it's just using the same words we teach also for business, like, see yourself, understand where you are, and
but you've
don't
got
copy.
to, right? But I think copying is actually okay in the beginning, because what else, right? Like Mike says, it takes a long time to play like yourself. So you have to play somebody else's music until you're comfortable enough to take the notes and make them something else, right? Until you're comfortable enough to take the notes and make them something else. But what happens with teachers is that we look at how someone else is, again, further along on the path, how someone else has started to play like themselves. And we think that that's also how we often will take someone else's authentic expression and think that it is ours. But you have to work through it. You have to work through it. There's a lot of teachers who I know who have been damn good copiers. And then eventually, through the process of trying to be someone else's authentic self, they realize that is not my authentic self. And then they get there, right? And you can be quite successful along the way.
Yeah.
Right. But the teachers who I think are what I consider great, and what I mean by great is that they have found an authentic way to be in the world, and built an authentic business around it, but that also have the inspiration and the stamina to keep going. That's what I think is the greatness, right? Is that they can keep going, right? Like Madonna, she just
she doesn't stop,
right? She's going. She's great. Like she's great. That to me makes someone great, is the ability to keep going, and that comes from finding their unique way to put the music together.
So if a yoga teacher is looking to find their way or tries to work on the business, I had one podcast actually about the mindset, because as you also mentioned a few times, the idea about business and yoga, sometimes they struggle with this idea and to call it business, but let's say the mindset is there, they want to. So if I understand you right, the next step would be actually to practice, to find competence, if I understand right.
Absolutely.
And then starting to ask yourself, who am I, right? Who am I really? Who am I being authentic? And what's then the next step? What would you say? Is it finding a niche, or?
If I started at the beginning, the first thing I think when you're coming out of of training is to teach as much as possible. And you just want to get as much experience as you can, and be exposed, right, to as many different kinds of students, as many different kinds of teaching, to really be a consumer, right, to be in the world. And I also think it's important to start thinking of yourself as a professional, if that is what your goal is. Some people never want to make a living teaching yoga. They want to be a hobby teacher, right? That's totally fine. But did you clarify it for yourself, right? Did you clarify it for yourself? And maybe you don't know yet, but a lot of people do. But the fact that they don't articulate it, they don't say, like, I want to be a professional yoga teacher. In 6 years, I want to make $100,000 teaching yoga, right? That is very uncommon to find a teacher that has that kind of clarity. So it's coming out of school or being early in the early years. And usually it takes about 6 to 8 years, I feel, to get to this point. You've got to be clear that this is what you want. I think if you really want to get there, right? Be a professional, right? If any other career, and this is what I love thinking about it, again, paralleling it to other industries, because if you wanted to be a chef, right, you would take it very seriously. The business side, the money you're investing in your training, the experiences that you need to have as an apprentice, right, in order to build yourself up to where you can have enough skills to be able to, right, take on a larger role. You think about your development differently, right? When you know that you want to be, this is my career, this is what I want to spend the rest of my life doing. But I don't want to sacrifice, right, financially. Why shouldn't I be able to buy that house or take my children on vacation and to do these different things? So I think there's one part, being in the world, being in the market, having lots of different experiences that allows you to play different kinds of music, to consume, to be exposed, to be inspired. And then the other side, you say, you know what? This is really what I want, because you'll start doing things differently when it's really what you want. You will start setting goals. You will spend time with mentors. You will practice your business, right? You will practice your business. You will work on the things that you don't like to work on, right? You'll work on your spreadsheets, and you'll look at your money differently. You'll set up business accounts. You will build business. So the next step, to answer your question, is to start to actually create a plan. It's to create a plan. So from a product perspective, which is what you're teaching, right, and why you're teaching it, that has to come from experience. It's very hard to, in the beginning, just come out and create the brand, right? It's because it's not authentic until you've been in the world for a while. So you can have something, but it's going to change as you develop and you become more of yourself in the room. And to create a plan for yourself. What do I want to see happen in my yoga business this year? What do I want to see happen in my yoga business, right, in the next year? So we usually do this as the year turns over, an assessment. What did I learn? How much money did I make? What worked? What didn't work, right? What do we want to see happen next? So you take it seriously. You get out, you get in the world, you gain experience, and you create a plan.
Great. So having that all in mind, I'm imagining we doing it. You had also a very important theme, I think, a super important theme in your TED Talks, in your conference. And this is learn how to make your failures work for you. And you dedicated even a whole day. I saw a whole day about failure is an option at the Yoga Teacher Conference. Why a full day?
Yes. I'm so glad you brought this up, actually, because this was one of the most powerful days of the conference. The truth is that as entrepreneurs, half the things you think don't work out the way that you think they're going to, right? And that's a reality. And so, but we don't talk about it.
Exactly. I just wanted to say, nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about, and this is like, the worst part about Instagram, right? Nobody talks about the 22 pictures they took that were terrible, or the 13 times they tried to bake the dish or do whatever it is that they're doing, or all the relationships they've had that didn't work before they show the one that does, you know? So there's all of this illusion around perfection, and
Mhm.
it really is a factor in our yoga space because we often create a projection of what we think our teachers are, right? Or who we think they are, what their experience has been like, either becoming a teacher or building their business, who they are as people. And so, because we value perfection, we don't often talk about the things that don't work. But the reality is that half of what I think Brian Kest actually was the one that said half, you know, he's like, half the things I do don't work, but the half that do, right? If I didn't try and keep trying, I wouldn't have the half that does work. And the half that, you know, so failure is an option. It really is.
Mhm.
You fail all the time. And you have to fail as an entrepreneur. You have to fail as a person, right? You're not going to find a great partner if you don't go through all the ones that don't work first. You just, you know, um it's part of being human, to be
Mhm.
super honest, which means that it factors into business as well. But especially because the yoga industry is not set in stone, right? We are all creating, I always call it like the wild, wild west, you know, like the cowboy movies, you know, we're like, "Bow, bow," and like anything can happen. And because that's really what it is. You can build anything in the yoga space right now. You can literally build any business structure that you want. And there is no set path to success.
Mhm.
So that means that you have to try things. And that means that you have to try things that you've never done before, right? Or maybe you're crazy like me and you try something that I'd never done before and that had never been done before, right? Which means that there's a lot of failure. There's a lot of making mistakes. And I actually have a little magnet on my refrigerator that says always make new mistakes. And this is like my mantra, because it's not the mistake, it's not the failure, it's doing it again.
Mhm.
Right? Same thing again, the same way, and expecting something different to happen. So we had to talk about failure in the conference because it's such a normal part of our reality as successful business owners. You have to fail in order to learn, to innovate, to,
Mhm.
right? You cannot, it just doesn't, it doesn't exist any other way. It's not possible any other way. So I wanted to give it light. I wanted to hear from some very successful, you know, teachers, like, about the times that things didn't work out for them, and we really got into it. We really
Such,
got into it.
yeah, so
And
important, I think. Yeah. So my mantra is, if you fail, fail forward. No, that.
absolutely, what did you learn? How
Mhm.
is what you learned? How did it make you feel? I've added the feelings part this past year to like the
Mhm.
failure. Super
Mhm.
cool. To really help with the processing of it, you know, especially like coming out of the pandemic and everything that hasn't worked, right? The things that, even if it wasn't our fault, right? Of maybe why something failed that you set out to do, there's still feelings associated with it, right? So really giving yourself a chance to fail forward, but really look at what you learned, and how it felt, and make sure that you're also clearing it for yourself. You know, fixing the problem isn't necessarily processing what you've been through, right?
Mhm.
Um,
I
but yeah,
think you said, sorry, I think you said that also at the very beginning when you were talking about what is a great teacher or something like that. Like, it's actually that they continue. It's about that, no? That makes you great, actually, just to fail and fail again and you continue.
perseverance. I mean, if perseverance, if you think about anyone great, an athlete, you know, whether it's they're a soccer player or they're a gymnast, you know, the great ones keep going when whether they have an injury or they have a setback, right? The great ones somehow figure out how to pick themselves up and keep going. And it's the same way I feel with a teaching career.
So you mentioned already a few topics, but 2022, what do you think for yoga teachers, what to keep in mind, or what's the way to go?
Sure. I believe right now, in this moment that we're in, it is time to reflect on what you've gone through. Step one, very important, processing what you've experienced, what you learned, what you lost, and how it felt. Because we need to create a clearing to move forward, right? So many of us had a tough couple of years. And without taking the time to reflect on what we went through, we're not going to be able to step forward as powerfully as we need to right now. Right now is the moment we think, we think that we can really get going again. So, number one, I think it's important to really reflect on what's happened. And once you've cleared some space for yourself, it's time to start with why again, right? It's clarifying why you're doing what you're doing. What's your purpose now? It has changed, right? Things have changed. We should not really be running the same businesses that we had before the pandemic. We're not the same people. The world is not the same. So I feel it's really important, and that there's so much opportunity now, right? There's been all this loss, there's been all this destruction, and that means that there's a lot of opportunity to rebuild, right? Someone is going to pick up those pieces and put them back together, right? Someone's going to open a new studio on Broadway, right? I don't know who, I don't, but these opportunities are there now because things have shifted and changed. So I think it's important right now to reflect on what you've learned, what you experienced, and how it felt. And I think it's important right now to reassess your business, the purpose of your business, and the structure of your business. So how are you making your income, right? Where's your income? Where's your money? What of your yoga services are you, how is your business put together? Because this is a moment to set new goals. This is a moment to create new efforts, right? New initiatives. So some people will just want to kind of go back to the way things were before, which is okay. I think about that too sometimes, but I don't think that's the opportunity right now. I think the opportunity right now is to remember why you started, right? And saying it to yourself is like so important, right? Remembering why you started in this whole thing in the first place, and really thinking about what you want your business to look like moving forward. So it's time for a fresh plan. It's time for a fresh plan. I would love to see everyone, really thinking about what they want in a new way right now, because the opportunities are different. The world is different, and I believe it's very exciting. It's bittersweet because there has been a lot of disruption. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on in between the destruction, and someone's going to pick up those pieces and put them together and do something great with them. And why not you?
Great. And talking about you now in your yoga, you're such a busy woman. How does your own practice look like?
I actually have been doing great. I'm so well, this whole online thing, I have no excuse anymore for not getting to class. So I have been really able to create some good new habits for myself, some better habits for myself, just as far as like work-life balance. So I am getting to class. I am getting outside. I've actually started lifting weights over from the pandemic because I needed to feel like strong. I think I needed to be strong, and so I felt a pull to go back to the gym a bit as well. So from a physical side of things, the practices, just making sure I'm getting to class. I'm still hesitant to go in person. I've started again, but it is still like I took a hot yoga class the other day and I still wore my mask, even though it's optional. So I'm with everybody, like baby steps of getting back into the studio space. But I'm definitely getting my classes in, which is awesome. And I think from sort of the inner work side of things, this reflecting has been really powerful. I've been doing a lot of looking at what I've gone through business wise, personal wise, and looking at what I've learned and allowing myself to also talk about how I felt. And this is very new for me. If anybody out there knows me, they're like, Ava's talking about feelings? Like, not something I normally do. But it's something that I've learned the importance of, and just to give a little space to be like, yeah, that really hurt. That thing, that failure, that one hurt. It doesn't mean I can't get through it or I can't fix it or I can't make a new mistake, but like, that one hurt my pride, hurt my ego, hurt my pocketbook, to really process. So that's the practice for me right now, is giving myself time to reflect and space to process. Making sure I'm moving a lot. I don't know what I would be doing if I would be a crazy person if I weren't. Yeah, I'm probably moving more now than I have since I was much, much younger, because I just feel like I just have to keep it off of me, So yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm blessed. I have such an amazing network, and I try to get in the room with all of those incredible teachers on a regular basis. So I kind of pop around the world in different studios and with different teachers all the time, which is a real blessing.
You have to come to Mallorca then.
Oh, I would love to. I'm looking forward to getting back to Europe.
He actually also teachers, a lot of teachers from LA actually come here to teach as well. Yeah, it's becoming also a little European yoga island. It's
Indeed.
beautiful.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I've been to Mallorca. I've gone to Ibiza, but I feel like I haven't been to Mallorca. So
next time.
Our next podcasting on the beach.
So you've told us so many interesting things. If somebody would like to continue with you or get in contact with you, how do they do that?
Yes. The website is YamaTalent.com. So YamaTalent. We have wonderful, wonderful online. I just put up a new series called The Rebuild, and this one is designed specifically for pandemic recovery. So I'm really excited about this. I just got it up. I haven't even told anybody yet until now. So this one's very exciting for like the moment that we're in now. Lots of great tools that are there. Please sign up for the newsletter. I'm always trying to I've got a lot of actual free tools and support that are coming from some different partners that I've been working with. There's some scholarships and grants for yoga studios that are coming. I've got a free coaching program that's going to be coming in June. So sign up for the newsletter so you can just stay in the loop of the business support that we're offering and that we're building. And yeah, just keep in touch. Yama Talent on Instagram, and Ava N Taylor for my direct. If you want to see me, I don't know. In real
follow
life.
you.
Yeah, if you want to keep in touch that way. But please, it's a very exciting time, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to share a little bit and encourage everyone. I hope that we can find a way to keep motivated, so that as we can see with what's going on in the world, I believe our work is more needed now than ever.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Thank you so much, Ava. It was very inspirational and really interesting. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And also, of course, thank you for those who are listening and watching Airtime with Agnes Kru Yoga. If you have any questions for me or for my guest this week, for Ava, you can contact me also on Agnes Kru Yoga on Instagram or Facebook, on my website, agneskruyoga.com. And stay committed, stay curious, keep searching, keep asking questions, aim high. Love and peace. See you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye. Muchas gracias.